Hi everybody, it's Kate Quinn. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so excited to be back. I'm going to do a little sound check right off the top to make sure that you can see and that you can hear. I'm also going to let you know that I'll be managing by myself today. Honey may come and check on me later, but he's got some things he's got to do right now. So hopefully all will go nice and smooth without any trouble. Hello from Houston. Are you there, Houston? Yes, I'm there. So glad you could make it, Linda. Okay, so it sounds like everything is good. If you let me know if you can hear well, for sure. And I'm going to just do a quick adjustment that is for something that I see, and then we'll get started. I always want to make sure that I can see the comments, so I'm just adjusting so that I can see what you're saying. Okay, so what are we doing today? Let me show you some cool things. We're going to start off with some Westerly patchwork tools, and I want to grab a little piece of paper and show you something. I joke about math and not being good at it, but I do like geometry. And what I wanted to do is I have this Westerly tool right here that allows you to make beautiful equilateral isosceles triangles, basically the same length on each side of the triangle. So what I wanted to do math-wise is I was playing with it and I said, okay, if the height is 4 1/8, which is there, this intersection to the tip, then I could use this special ruler that I'm going to show you in just a minute, and I could quilt from here to the middle and from the middle down to there, and that would be my path. Well, I'm here to tell you it doesn't always work out how you want it to. So what I did is I said, okay, I'm going to make the height 4 1/8. So what I did right here is I made it 4 1/8. Well, it's too small for the ruler that I wanted to use, but magically, I don't know how, the quilting gods were with me today. It did work in a different way that looks absolutely awesome. So that's what we're going to do today is we're going to quilt this really cute shape. And I just wanted to mention, you know, what was I looking for? What I needed in order to sew the design that I needed. Let me pull the ruler out. I needed it to be 4 3/4. Okay. This is the Spinifex number 11. It's an unusual size. It's 4 3/4. And the reason that it is such a unique size is that this one comes with the Mini Quilt in a Bag set. So I thought if I did all this fancy math that I would make it perfect. But the reality is that the way the isosceles ruler, the cutting ruler works is it's going to factor in the seam allowance for you. So if I had just made it 4 3/4, I would have been perfect. It is measuring how long the side is, not the height, not from the base to the tip. So if I say that I want it to measure 3, it's going to make the leg 3, and it'll add the seam allowance. So you see right here, I've got these little things like this. We just unscrew that. So if I wanted it to be 4 or 3 or whatever, I just line it up like that. And that would give me an actual triangle that will sew in and that will be a 3-inch on side, not 3 inches high, which is a different measure. It's going to measure this. So because this is 4 3/4, if I had just measured 4 3/4 right there, it would have been perfect. But I didn't. I measured 4 1/8 because I thought that's what I needed. And fortunately, it worked out to make this other really cool quilted design. So let me just show you one more thing before we get going. If you want to use this, the easiest way to do it is set it for whatever you want. If I want a 3-inch equilateral triangle, it's going to give me the seam allowance that will allow me to have that. I don't have to add anything. I just set it at 3. If I want to know what the distance is, right, this is how you match it up. You take one of the other Westerly rulers, and I'm going to loosen this up. Let's actually scoot out just a little bit. Let's see if we can get a little wider view so we have more room to work. There we go. I think that'll work a little better. So I'm going to loosen this up. And I would go like this. I'm going to flip it over so I can work more easily. Right? I want the lip of this right against this black bar, and then I can scoot these up. Oh, it's complicated. Here we go. See if I can get it to align. There you go. I'm lined up there, and I'm going to scoot this down. I think this one is too tight. There we go. So get one side just kind of set in place. I'll do one side and then the other one. We'll do this side. So I'm going to tighten it up. Make sure I'm going the right way. I don't want to loosen it up. I want to tighten it up. There we go. Okay, so we'll do the one side. Seems like I'm jumbling around here, right? So scoot that down so he's touching. And then we'll tighten him up so that he's not wiggling. And then scoot this over to the other side. Now, if I was not doing this on camera, I would just lay it down. It would be so much easier. But just scoot that down so he's touching right there. And then we'll just tighten it up. Now, it's important with this tool because this teeter-totters that you check this side one more time. Just come back over here and check it. What's the point of all of that? Now I can actually cut a width of fabric that is the exact height for my triangle. And then I can just cut one like this and then flip it over and cut the other side and flip it over and cut the other side and flip it over. So I can do it as a strip. And this is a straight of grain because one of the sides of the triangle will be straight of grain, but the other two won't be anyway, so it won't matter. So just cut a strip using, whatever the proper height is for the size, and then you can just cut a bazillion of them just like that. Okay, so these are the Westerly patchwork tools, and I love them. I use them a lot, and you'll see that it's going to be fun today. And I also recommend always purchasing the thumb screws because then you don't have to have a tool in order to adjust it. Okay, so I made this morning so that we can play with the Mini Quilt in a Bag tools. And remember that the height is not what you're measuring the leg. So whatever number that you set that ruler to, that is the size of the leg after it is sewn in. Okay, I didn't know that. Now I do. Ha! Okay, let's get sewing. How many people like hexagons? I love hexagons. They are really fun. So you can see we have a few different hexagons, 4 of them. And the first one that I want to show you is how we can plan the design itself, and then I'll show you the stitching path. The Quilt in a Bag set has some really cool pieces. This is the small crosshair square, and notice that it is 6 pointed because that is what the Quilt in a Bag series is designed around. It's designed around this 6 point. So this is a little bit smaller because all of these tools are a little bit smaller. This one is really small. Look how cute and adorable that is. Woo! This is just a little loop-de-loop, and this is 1 by 1, 1 inch tall and 1 inch that way. So super cute. Got a plan for this guy. My favorite. I know other people like this. Everybody always tells me, why can't we just order this by itself? Because it's in the set. But it's really, really cute. This is the Hearts of Plenty. Instead of being 2 by 4, this is 1 by 2. So we'll also be doing this. Really cute. And then, of course, it comes with just the straight line, and we have a little idea for how we can use that also. Okay, but let's start right with the little triangles, and how do we get this design to fit? How do we plan for it? Well, one of the very cool features that we have that we can use, let's see if we can adjust the camera to be a little bit more of a downward angle so you could see better what I'm going to do. We are only going to be sewing our brightly colored diamonds that make up the hexagon. So we're not going to put that in this background color, just in the pinks and the green, the purple, and the orange. Because this is 60-degree triangles, if I line this up such that this line right here through that center goes right through the middle, like this, this line should then cross right there and right there. So I'm going to scoot it down until that happens. See if I can get it aligned. There we go. Right there. Okay. So having this line go straight down the middle, and this line straight across, and this line straight across. And what those give us is that they split this, and they should make it perfectly in the middle. I think mine is a little bit, I need to get it straightened up. That one, there we go. I don't know, I think I had it on a wonky angle, but look at it now. This line is straight through the center all the way, and then from this center point, it goes all the way across, and from this center point, it goes all the way and kind of squares up right to this one. That's how I know that I can mark the center right there, and that that's the middle as far as making this design. So let's just make sure we could do that. So let's go ahead and we'll just do that really quickly on these as well. There, just get my little center mark, make sure he's nice and visible. I don't really even need lines because we have 2 points that we're going to be using to get everybody aligned. Right there. Okay. So the crosshair square is doing more for us. We're not trying to make lines like this, but because this relationship is the same relationship as the crosshair square with the 6 points, we can use that to give us that center position. So let's go ahead and sew out that first design. Let's get it laid out and show you what we're going to do. It's obviously wider inside of the triangle, so we're going to use the skinny part in the center intersection here and go around. So think about that. If we want to start in one corner and we want to end in the center, we can do this, and then we can do this one, and then we can finish out this side. We can even make it so that, you know, if we start somewhere over here, maybe in the middle, then I can come over here and go to the next one. So let's do that. We'll do these ones all the way, and then we'll do this one, and when we come out here, we'll try to come out to that side just so we can travel more easily. All right, let's talk about how bulky it can be in the center right here. So I have all of these layered. This is pressed so that the bump is on this side. Right here is the mountain and pink is the valley. And then this is valley and mountain, so they're spinning around all the way, which helps to relieve some bulk. And that means that these are opposed, and these are opposed, these are opposed. But on this line right here, I went ahead and I just pressed it open. I'll just show you real quick. Right there in the center. And I did that specifically to kind of lessen some of the bulk right in the center of these where these all come together, because they all have that. They're all a little bit bulkier, and just having that connection between each row pressed open is going to help alleviate just a little bit of that and give us a little bit more freedom. All right, try to get my needle right there in the center. You guys, I'm so happy to be back too. Can you tell? It's finally getting warm here, and I'm very happy about that. All right, so there you can see we're pretty much right in the center. I guess it would be nice if we had those lines, but I'm not going to bother. It's too much work, right? Okay, so let me show you. I want to be aligned straight down the center. And another thing that you can look for, let's see if we can get you in a little tighter. I can also check the bottom of the template and make sure that I have a nice even measure. Where am I talking about? Let me point to it for you. There is a line right here that goes across the bottom, and when I line it up, I want the same distance here and the same distance here. I don't want it looking kind of like that, where it's fat right here and it's skinny right there. See how the blue doesn't look even? I want it so that when I'm looking at it, I basically have the same amount of distance. So I can do a little bit of manipulation like that and just do it as a visual. Of course, I can also put my spacing gauge on there, but let's go ahead and sew. Ready? So a little bit bulky right there. You can hear that it is. We knew that was going to happen. Okay, and that is just something that's going to happen. We're going to have to try to pull a little bit and get our needle right in the center each time. So we're doing that visually. If we need to make an adjustment, then we can. All right, so when we go on this one, we want to go to the center and do all of the traveling for the other ways and then come back to the center. That way we can go around. I'll show you what I mean. So right here, same thing. We're using that same relationship on the bottom and we're lined right up with the dot. You can also look and make sure that the same amount of white or cream or whatever is showing on this side. So a little bit of pressure to get out of that little bulky area. Oh, wait a minute. Was I going crazy? I was. Let's go ahead and flip this around. We were saying that we're going to use that and try to get right to the corner. Now, I want to show you something. If the corner seems like it's a little bit like it won't fit exactly perfect, just align this so that you can get in on the one side. Okay, so that'll work out all right. See right there? It's got just real close. It's pretty good. Again, the size of this is 4 3/4, and the triangles themselves are measured with that isosceles cutting tool at 4 1/8. Okay, so it's bulky right there, so give a little bit of pressure, get us right back into the center. Okay, and now I can do this next side and get lined up. I can even see he's right on the line, so he should get me exactly right to that little center spot right there. I don't know how that worked out, you guys. It was magic. Okay, so bulky, nice and easy. Just give it some gentle pressure to get us where we want to go. And now we can get right back to the center here to do this last leg right there. See how that works? So I have to remember as I'm going around not to be crazy and overshoot it a little bit. So a little bit of smushing to make sure that this line and this line is right on the center and gets me right back to the middle. So I'll have some little bonbon stitching there at the top where I double stitched it. It'll all work out, right? So a little bit of pressure to get right into the center. And then let's do this next one. We want the skinny part that direction, and we'll line it up. So let me show you real quick. I'm going to just turn this so we can keep you in good view. Pulling it all the way down, and I'm going to align it the best I can. Now, I can tell that this distance is a little bit bigger. I can tell that I can't fit this right perfectly in the center. And what that tells me is I may not be exactly right to the middle of the design. So rather than start going when I'm not quite ready, I'm going to go ahead and make the adjustment. And now I'm right in the center there. This is aligned right here on the bottom, nice and even. And I can see the same amount on each side. Now remember what we said, a little pushing here to get past that bulky area. I want to push gently with a little bit of pressure, but I don't want to just have it shoot away from me and make weird stitching. Now that I'm in the center, I can do both of these sides and I can travel back. Okay. So I'm aligned right on that center position. Let's make sure my ruler's in the right spot. He wasn't touching my foot. Now, if I was super crazy, I could mark the rest of these and I can go ahead and finish out all of the ones down here. Using that same travel method, I could go all the way around and get back to that spot and then go across on the pink, right? So this is where that path is really powerful. That can help you get everything that you need right away, but we haven't marked for this, so I don't really know where the center of those are. Hi, Miss Betty. Oh, I'm going to give Betty a shout out real quick. Betty, can you see that? What do you see? Nothing. Betty gave me this clear tape so that I can not have any obstruction in the visual field when we're putting the keys on. So thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you. All right. So we're at the bottom. Let's go ahead and we'll finish this out. And again, checking to make sure that we'll be right in the center there. And we've got this aligned and we've got a nice amount of spacing. If I can't quite get back to the center, you could shift the neck down just a little bit to make that adjustment. This little skinny neck kind of travels a little bit, so it's easiest to make an adjustment down here. It's much more difficult to make a size adjustment here. So if I make this fit, and this is a little bit short, it still will look fine. But otherwise, if I did it opposite, I would be less inclined to have it work out. Perfect, right to the center. And then let's do this one. A little smushing. See, honestly, I was so surprised that this worked out. I don't know why the math worked out, but it did. It's like backwards math. I thought I was going to do one thing, but the math worked out great for the other side. Ha! Oh, but it looks so cute, you guys. Can't wait to show you these little tri flowers or whatever you call it. They just look so cute. So getting us back down to the center, make sure that you're set right at the intersection right there. I keep seeing that my ruler is offset a little bit. Pull it down until it's snug on both sides. All right. Well, this would be where I would want to go down on just the one side and do the other two. Rather than do that, what I'll probably do is just come back in and do this one and that one and then start going around using the method that I said. That way I don't have any extra stitching. I'll just pick up the thread right at the center. So let's go ahead and we'll tack this real quick, and I'm going to pull it out so you could see what it looks like. So it's really tight right there in the center to do my tack off, but it's going to look awesome. So I just saw a question from Lee Patterson Mazziello. I hope I said your name right. So what we're using is a special size Spinifex 11, and this comes with the Mini Quilt in a Bag set. So let me cut these threads and I'll pull that back out and show it to you. And you guys, I love it. Look how cute that is. Isn't that awesome? And it fits pretty much perfect. Right? One stitch right there would connect us to the corner if necessary. And probably I will end up ditching this, so there'll be plenty of quilting in there. And in fact, since this is so close to the edge, I might actually quilt these a little bit inside. And rather than quilting right here on the ditch right next to this stitch, I'll probably echo this on the inside so that they can have just a little bit more fun. Or maybe do an arc, something like that, where this design can stand alone without having the ditch right next to it like that. But don't you think that's so cute? I love it. So again, this is 4 1/8 for the size, and I don't know why that works out, but it does. It allows me to get from the center right to the outside juncture right there. And just as we showed you, if you do sort of the partial where we do to the center, we could travel out here and do this entire one right here and come back and do this one and then do a partial here and finish this one and then go over here and work our way all the way back. So it has the potential to be totally continuous for lots and lots of these hexagons. You could really travel across each of those designs with that. So really, really fun. Love it. Ooh, so cute. And This is one of my favorite shapes, the Spinifex number 11, and now I have another size that will fit perfectly in a 5-inch square, right? A 4 3/4 is perfect to fit in a 5-inch square. So pretty awesome. If you have a 5.5-inch blocks that you're doing, these designs will be able to fit right into that square. Okay, so that was our fun design using the Spinifex number 11 at 4 3/4. Let me just cut some threads and then let's go ahead and talk about the next piece. This has the LSLQ, which is the Sashly template. So this basically is a channel right here that would really allow us pretty easily to make a lot of straight lines. And what I thought I would do is let's go ahead and we're just going to cross hatch in this area right here, because this piece is going to be, sorry, I got distracted by somebody's comments. You know, there's nothing required here. You don't have to click anywhere else. You don't have to pay for anything. This is free. If you feel like people are soliciting you or anything like that, please ignore them. I can't really turn them off right now without not attending to you guys. So just ignore them and we'll go ahead and block them at a later time, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and start. Remember what we said here is we want to go ahead and perhaps maybe you could ditch this, but more than that, we're going to cross hatch these blue sections right here. So let's just go ahead and get that set up. So when we're sewing, there is a ditch, and for this particular one, the ditch is right between the orange, and the low side is on the orange side and the high side is on this blue side. So let's go ahead and open up my clear tape. You can see I have a little folded edge right there. That's my little pull tab right there. And then let's put this on. There is a little line right here that I can use in order to line this up right along the ditch. Because I want the needle to be on this side, I can just hedge this line very much on the orange side. And that is going to help me keep myself right on the ditch in that side, right against the edge of the blue, but not stitching on the blue side. Okay? So I've got this little line right on the orange. It's just slightly over the edge, but it's allowing me to make sure my needle's going to stay right on that orange side, which is my valley side. So right there, a little bulky, right into the center, and then we'll just keep on going. So again, this side, the ditch is here on the blue. So when I line this up this time, I'm going to make sure that the edge right here is just slightly on the blue side. And that way, as I'm lining that up, I'll also keep the edge of the foot compressed on that side as well, so I'll be controlling on that side. Okay, let the needle stop, and again, get me right into the center, so I need a little bit of room to come to the point. Okay, now, let me just show you what that looked like, see if we can pull it up. Can you see that the ditch is right there? Let's see if we can get in a little. Oh, goodness sakes. I flipped my camera around instead of giving me the stretch that I wanted. There we go. So you can see we're right there in the ditch right there. Pretty good, huh? And then here's the orange one. You can see that on the orange one. We're going to be right inside the ditch right there like that. So that's just something that you can use with this tool as you're going. That's something that you can always do, and you can do it with your spacing gauge as well. So I just check right there, what ditch am I on, and then I'll use this side because we need to be on this outer edge, right? So again, getting past the little bulky area right there, I'm coming right down my ditch. All right. We'll do this last one, and then we're going to do a little bit of echoing in here, some little cross hatching. just because we can. I think I need one more stitch to get to the corner there. Right there. Okay. So right on the blue side, and making sure that you're holding this side, pushing that way, because we're stitching right here on the blue. I want the edge of the ruler to be on the same side, pushing against that ditch. That just gives me the best visual, I think, for my own needs. See how that's a little bit wonky right there? I think that looks a little big. This is where I let my eyes control and say, okay, I don't know why that's so wonky, but it's a little bit wonky. So my spacing gauge is going to help me get a little bit closer. I don't want to just go making a mistake that's not going to look good if I can tell that it's off. Ooh, sorry. Let's get you back up there. Okay, I think we'll go out just a little bit too so we can have a better view. All right, so we went ahead and we ditched that, and so we learned some techniques real quick about that. And now we have these lines right on here. So as we travel down, we can just start doing some crosshatch lines and just doing them all the way across in one direction. And when we get down to the bottom, then we'll use the other side and we'll just go the other way. So let's see, how far down do we want to go, right? What do you think? Do you guys have a preference? I think 1/2 inch would be good. That's kind of in the middle. We need at least a couple more stitches. Maybe 3. 1, 2. Oh, there we go. Good. So we're lined up right there. Looks like that top one is maybe 1 stitch off, so I'm going to go ahead and make that adjustment so that we're all aligned. This line right here, and the spacing is 1, 2, and 3, right? The foot is adding the 1/4 inch right here, so this is a 3/4 inch spacing right there, and then we'll just go ahead and sew across. Because this is 4 1/8, I don't really know what can fit in here, but if you knew exactly what your spacing was, you could also plan ahead and just have exactly the right amount of spacing that you wanted to, but we don't have that. I don't know what it is, so I'm just gonna scoot down until I can get that same relationship this time. Trying to go right in the ditch again, and then just checking right here that this is gonna have the same relationship. I want 2 lines. Let me turn it just a little more so you can see. Make sure I can get this aligned on the same relationship. 2 spaces and 1/4 in the middle, and then just hold it right against the ruler foot and just sew right down the channel. Okay, same thing. Line it up and right down to the channel. Okay, and again right here, I can use my lines right here and right up there, and then we'll just try to sew down a little bit. Kind of starts off slowly so I can make sure that I'm in the ditch nicely. And if you see how much space there is right here, I'm probably close to that because my foot is going to add another 1/4. So I can go ahead and test it and see, am I close? Pretty close. I think I need 1 more stitch right there in order to get aligned. Right there. And then I'll just look across the back, make sure this is aligned all the way, and then I can start sewing. The one thing I like about the extra lines that it has on here is it really does let you keep everything nice and straight. And when we're trying to, make some kind of a crosshatch visual, I really appreciate that we can have that. So I will tell you that I like the LSLQ 6-inch a little bit better because it has a longer line than this one. So this one, you can only get this much at a time, and the other one is just a little bit longer. And I know that a lot of people like Donna McCauley's one as well. She's got one that has a really cute ability to make a long straight line. So we have a couple of different options depending on your own personal choices and styles. So I think that will be good. I think that once we get this last one in there, I think we'll have a nice balance. So we're not quite there. We got to scoot over just a little bit more. Right there. This is what I'm looking for right here, so I can get that lined right up, and then I'll push it all the way down so I can get the maximum space that I want. Okay, and then we'll just go down a little bit more. Now I'm going to show you a little trick right here, since we've already ditched a little bit and we want to be that 3/4 inch. Since I'm aligned right here, I'm just going to scoot out a little bit. About a 1/2 of an inch should be visible, okay, right there from the edge of the seam to the foot. Then I can take this and I can swivvy that around right there, and you can see that I'm pretty much ready and lined up. I need to go back this way a little bit, and let's check that alignment. But that's an easy way not to have to sew right along this ditch a billion times. I can travel in the existing design, and that'll help eliminate some of that extra stitching right out on the extra. Okay, so I'm lined right up. I'm going to go backwards. So right there, there'll be a little bit of double stitching right here on the end, but not too bad. Okay, and then down to the bottom. Okay, and then again, going ahead and stitching across, and my ditch is on the blue. So I'm just going to be careful, move up in the blue, try not to get on the purple. Again, looking for that 1/2 inch right there, because that's the spacing that we need for the rulers right there for 2. So when I'm looking at it as I'm moving up, I'm trying to estimate that 1/2 inch visual, and the foot will take care of itself. Okay, so here, line it up, and off we go. And I'm right on the end, and again getting lined up so I can stitch right in the ditch as I go along, and looking for that 1/2 inch. Okay, so from the edge of the stitching there to where the foot is, that's what I'm looking for in terms of that 1/2 inch. Okay, right there, pretty nice. It worked out pretty good. So then we'll just keep going. And then keep on going. I like this crosshatch because it's going to set that blue area, this part, away from the hexagons. So the hexagons will be sort of their own look, which I appreciate. And then let's go ahead and stitch down our ditch. And again, looking for that 1/2 inch right there. Don't quite have it, so need just a few more stitches. And then we should be able to have it. Oh, did I go crazy? Look, I did. There's the line. I need to go a little bit back. Don't you find that annoying? We try to guess, but we don't always guess correctly. All right, here we go. Keep sliding down so we can finish it up, and checking that I'm lined up on the other ones. And then I don't know if we have enough room for one last one. I think we'll probably leave it at that. Let me go ahead and we'll tack this off right here in the ditch, because that's an easy place to hide any excess thread. And then we'll just cut that. So in order to make the design look like it has some unity, I would try to do the little corner triangles the same. Okay? So all of that background area is going to have this little cross hatching just like that. So this would be the same, and then on the corners right here we would do the same thing. We'll do the cross hatching from this side going out and this side going out to this boundary line, and that would help this blue all look like they work together. And I think that that 3/4 inch spacing is pretty good. It's a little bit wider on this side and a little narrower on that side, but maybe the first one we hedge a little bit next time to balance that out. The only way you can really figure that out, I think, would be if you measured and marked the whole thing, like mark the center and then spaced it out from there, that's way too much work for me. I'm not doing that. You can, if you have a high perfection quotient, that's how you would do it. So let's go ahead and put our little loop-de-loop in. So this little project is just some ideas for how you could use something different for not making necessarily the quilt in a bag, but if you had, some different shapes or different ideas, this is a way that you can use these tools, and they don't have to be exactly the same pattern. Could you continue the corner and finish the pink? Just because you want to see it? I guess I'm asking. So Margie, you just want to see what it looks like with all three of these in? Yes, of course I can do that, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do all of these. I'm going to actually do this one, and probably I'll start there and do half, finish this one, come back, and then I can start traveling all the way around over here. What scissors did you use to clip your threads? So I have this awesome scissors. This is from Boheen, right there. Pretty awesome. I also like Kai scissors. I have some really great Kai scissors. I mean, could you have done it that way? I'm not sure. If I start in the center and I just wanted to do the hexagon, Margie, what I would have to do is when I did the first one, I would have to stop there, not do the whole thing. That was what happened, why it didn't work out the way I wanted. I would have had to do half of the shape and then complete this one, and then close it to back to the center, and then do the same thing for each of these triangles. And if I was over here at this point, I could proceed and do the next one and work my way back to close it if I wanted to. Okay, so that's what happened. Really, I was talking and wasn't attending as well as I wanted. I should have stopped there and then done this whole one and then this one and back to the center. Okay. Oh, what a good idea. You guys are ahead of me. Okay, so Linda Martindale just had a clarifying comment. So since we kind of ended our crosshatch, I guess the comment was, could I just continue up here and then finish this off? Of course. What a great idea, you smarties. Good idea. I didn't think of that. See, that's why I have these classes, so I can learn. That's a good idea, though. Good job. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's work on this little segment right here. And let's go ahead and mark him off with our handy dandy centering ruler because he is spaced at 1 inch. So this is super convenient to line this up. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to plan ahead so that I know the design is going to fit. So let's mark it nice and easy real quick. Right down the center there. So I got this line right here aligned right on the seam, and it's actually squared up nicely on the bottom too. And I'll actually mark it all the way down, just in case we need that later. Okay, so this is the center, and it is squared up to these lines, if you can see like that. If I lay it right on there, this is aligned right in the center like that. Okay, so now I can just put this on here, and I want to mark these at 1 inch. So I guess I'll flip it around. Right there. So the spacing that I put on this is 1.5, and the little design that we're doing is 1 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and also mark the center so that we can get the center of our design to be in the center. Do I need to make all these markings? I don't have to. The reason that I want to is I want to center this so that the design fits perfectly in the center, right? I want the little loop to be centered right in the middle there. Julie, this is the SoBiz centering ruler from Donnell McAdams, and I love it. I use it a lot. I don't think it is a 1/4 inch thick. It's definitely not a sewing ruler. It's more along the lines of the low shank thickness, probably 3/8, I think. So this is high shank, the clear, and this one is probably the low shank thickness. So I know she does use it for sewing. I've seen her do that several times, so you can, but would I use it on a long arm? No, absolutely not. Not suitable for stitching on a long arm, okay? Yeah, so, and I have this too, because I think it's awesome. Sew Biz has it, I have it, and of course, Sew Steady is manufacturing it, so it's on their website as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and plan our little design with our cute little guy. Look how cute he is. Oh, so adorable. So because of that, I want to center him like this, right? And I want him kind of in the middle. So notice that based on the sizing at 1.5, the top of this and the bottom of this will touch this boundary, right? Because it's a 1/4 inch in that it's sewing and a 1/4 inch in. So if I have this spaced at 1.5, I can easily center this right on the seam line right there and keep this right in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to line it up, and in order to align it like this, I would want to start here, and I'm going to sew down and go that way. I mean, I could start here too, but this is a nice convenient place for us to pick back up if we want to go the other way. So let's go ahead and start sewing. Did you catch all that? So like the alignment there on the bottom, there's a little ruler line right there that I can use as I walk across the design, and I can keep the edge of the template aligned right up on that seam, and that is how I can line up the design and make sure that he's going to fit perfectly in the middle. Okay, so I'm right in the hook, and then the way this little guy works and all of the continuous border loops like that, you just hop it over, and then we'll get lined up. I want to line up this white reference line. So let me use my little pointer. I think you can see it really well on the camera. This white reference echo right here should be lined up on your stitching. And then this line right there is the one that's lined up right along the border. And that is going to help us keep everybody nice and even. So I'm going to make just a couple of adjustments, make sure that he's lined right up and lined right up on that. And then we'll sew. Right there, actively change directions, come to the top, and then just hop over. And then pretty much once we get going, we should be able to just start sewing pretty efficiently. The thing that you want to look for is right there, and that's the 1/4 inch spacing as you come around. When I line up the next one, right here as I move this over, I'll just hop him over, this right here needs to be that 1/4 inch for the foot, because that's basically what's helping you not have these overlap. This space right there, if you're in doubt that that's a 1/4 inch, you can just pull out your spacing gauge and test it. That's the easiest way to check it. So right there. Okay, and then let's just keep hopping and we'll get them lined up. Make sure that this is lined up over here too, keeping us right in the middle. I love these loops. They are super cute. Okay, and then just hop over. They're pretty easy. I mean, I think that they are not complicated at all. They are nice and easy to use. So keep hopping. And I'm just checking this each time and maybe smushing this a little bit just to make sure that he'll lay down properly so that I can make the loops touch nicely and be right in the center. Okay, and we'll just kind of finish this up a little bit so you can see what it will look like if we do it. In order to complete it, we'd go back to the center and go the other direction. Why bother? Why not just start anywhere and just go along the whole side? Because this border is on one side of the quilt, it doesn't go around, it's just, one side of the quilt. I want to make sure that it looks the same on both sides so that it has a very symmetrical look. So that was important to me. So that's why I made all of those markings and kind of aligned everything up so that I could be right on the spacing and know exactly how many I was going to be able to fit in there. Okay, and then we'll just keep going, keep checking this alignment. It looks like maybe my stitch was a little bit narrow right there, so maybe my seam allowance was a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to make sure that we make a little bit of an adjustment so we can kind of get back on track. As I'm getting down to the end, I need to start thinking about if I can't fit these evenly, like what if there's not enough room for me to complete the loop? What am I going to do? Okay, so I need to start thinking about that because that'll be something that we need to have a plan for as we get out to this edge. So I think I can fit probably one more. I don't know, probably two more, I think. We'll see. We'll do this one, and then I think I can close this last one. So right there, I can do this next loop right here, and that'll be the end. So let me show you how we're going to close it. Go ahead and line it up just as if you were putting another one in. You're still checking this area and right along the border on the bottom. But when I touch the existing stitch line right now, as I come in, right here, I'm just going to stop right there. So right there is where I'm going to just backtrack, do my little tie-off stitching, and I'll be done. The point of that is it's going to look intentional, and it's going to close it nicely with a very thought out plan. You're not going to have some weird stitching just left over. And if I went all the way, I would have to go back to the top to close it. Like I could make this loop come out to here, but that would leave a gap up here, and I'd have to come up and I'd have to close the gap at the top. And I don't necessarily want to do that. So let me show you what it looks like so far. Super cute. I'm just moving things so I don't drop stuff. Woohoo! Don't you love it? I love it. It is so cute. And by putting it in this 1.5 inch, then I'm not crowding it. If I put it in a 1 inch space, then this might cross over my stitching allowance. Because remember I said down here, look how it's a little narrower? So unless I'm perfectly 100% perfect, I rarely want to fit a continuous border into an exactly sized space. If it says 1 inch on the template, it is 1 inch, and maybe my stitching area isn't exact. So I don't want to deal with that. It's too complicated. So we used 1.5 for this, and that allowed us to fit this design in here very nicely without crowding, but it still looks super, super cute. Valerie, this particular group that I'm sharing is the Mini Quilt in a Bag set. I'm just going to review that really fast. And it has some really, really adorable pieces in it. It's 4 templates, and they're all uniquely sized. This is quite small at 1 by 1. This is 4 3/4, and that would assume that you're sewing it 2 times. So the actual size of this is 2 3/8, I guess. Half of 4 3/4, you know, from the top to the bottom. And then this is super cute. This is the Mini Hearts Aplenty. This is 1 by 2. So super, super cute. So it's going to be 2 inches, I guess, let's see, 1 by 2, 1 by 2, 2 inches tall. So we're going to put that in somewhere. We have a space for that also. Let's go ahead and get ready for that, and that'll be kind of our last piece for today. Let me show you the instructions and the picture for the Mini. It is the same quilt as the Continuum Quilt, only you're making it at a different scale. Okay, so it's not a very good picture, but this is the same quilt that we've made. This is the Continuum Quilt. It actually looks like that. So Carla, yes, there's a lot of handouts. This is just a handout right here that has basic information about the tools itself right there. So here's some different shapes you can make with that Spinifex 11 and the crosshair, right? I don't know why it shows the 8-point crosshair, but this 6-point crosshair comes with this set. And then this is the directions, right, for the Hearts of Plenty, and we're going to show you how to do that. Yeah, so Jamie, I sell anything that Sew Steady offers. Do I have it in stock? I am just bringing this product in. That's why I have it. So this is the first time that I've, shown it or explored it at all. So absolutely. It's totally available. And then somebody asked about the handout. I can't even show you the handout, but look how big it is. It's really big. It's like a book. Okay, so it's got a lot of pages. And this is the directions for how to sew, how to use stuff, really good pictures you can see, and how big you cut the block. So these blocks are much more manageable, right, than the full continuum. The full continuum is quite big. I mean, I think it's 100 and something. It's pretty big. And then this is the sashing strips at 3-inch wide, so they'll probably be like 2.5 inch when you finish them, right? So they may be doing some wider sashing, but they're joining the pieces with this Sashly template, okay? So anyway, this set, it's pretty unique, and 3 of the pieces are specific to this mini quilt in the bag set, which I think is a really great opportunity. So real quick, let's go ahead and do the Hearts of Plenty. And the way that I want to set it up is this is 2.5 when it's sewn, so it would basically be right at 2, but this side is a little bit wider. This is 3 inches. So before we sew it, let me show you something that can be really useful when you're working against the edges of your quilt, especially if your quilt is not basted like mine. I'm just going to take the edge of this really quickly, and I'm going to put the foot half on and half off right here on the edge, and I'll just kind of start it a little bit. So I'm inside the boundary. Notice that I'm inside my 1/4 inch by pressing the foot across the edge there. That way, when I'm stitching my binding on, I shouldn't have any problem. The way that you can tell is that this space should be less than 1/2 inch. So I'll show you what I mean. If I were to put this on here, see how that's less? That means that I'm going to be inside the 1/4 inch allowance. So I'm just going to stretch this a little bit just to make sure it's not puckering the fabric right there. So my finger back here is providing just a little counter pressure so that there isn't any puckering as we sew, because we're right on the edge there. Something else that you can do is maybe loosen up the pressure on your foot so it's a little bit looser. That can be something that can help take up a little bit of that puckering and prevent it, because then the foot has more space. So I'm just going to adjust mine just a little bit. I don't want this pushing the fabric out in front. So if I raise the foot just a little bit, that's going to give me just a little bit more freedom to do that. And again, less than 1/4 inch there, and my finger along the back giving me that pressure. So this way, I can make sure that I can get those edges basted in. That way the quilt is not going to have any movement along the edge right there as I'm moving along. And I think that that's important. The other thing that we need to think about when we start doing those Hearts of Plenty is we need to make sure that we know where our border spacing is. So like if we have a 1/2 inch binding or a 1/4 inch binding or 3/8 inch binding or whatever, we need to plan ahead for that. So let's go ahead and do that right now. I'm just going to probably use a 1/4 inch binding on this one. But now see how this is all going to stay down nice and sturdy. I don't have to worry about that. So let's mark the center here of where we want our Heart of Plenty to go. Okay, the Heart of Plenty, it's going to be the 2 inches tall, and this is the 1 inch width right here. So each one of these little loops is 1 inch wide. Okay? So from the edge right here, if I stick this on, that's 2 inches. So this one is a little bit wider right there. I'm going to just mark it at 2, and that's where I'm going to try to position my design. And this one is a little bit wider than that other side. The other side is 2.5. So I'll just cut in my seam allowance when I'm done. But this is our bottom boundary right here. This is that 2-inch spacing. And I'm kind of being a little bit generous on this side, making sure that I have actually full 2 inches to work with. Because it's very, very difficult to turn the corner with the Hearts of Plenty, it's not really designed for that, I'm not going to try to do that. I could figure out something, but I'm not going to try to make this a corner right here where I'm going around this part. I'm just going to go right off of the edge here, and I'll treat this as a boundary, and something else or the same design can go here, but it will end right there. Okay, and again, just like we did with the loops, we can make an intentional ending that is closure. Okay, so let's go ahead, let's mark the center. Just like we did before, this will help us make sure that we can balance the design right in the middle. Okay, all right, here we go. Suzanne asked me, which crosshair do I get the most use out of? I certainly use the 8-point crosshair the most. That's the first one I ever got, and I've used it a bazillion times. But I absolutely feel like if you're working with things like hexagons, something where the relationship is better for 6 points, I definitely think it's good to have that. I don't use the 5-point very much. I don't usually work in, 5 divisions of anything. I usually do 6 or 8. And so that one is nice to have, but it's kind of fluffy. This one definitely I think would be great to have. The 6-point for this, how could you do an 8-point on that? I just don't think that would work out very well. So, it just depends on you. So if you look right here, this is our 2-inch, and if we line it up right in the center like that, I have a center line. Let's see if I can get it aligned right there on the bottom. Maybe we'll do it this way, right there. That line right there, and there is a line right there. Let me scoot it up just a little bit. The way that this design stitches out, I'm going to start with my needle right there, and I'll sew around to here, and you're hopping over again. So, for example, if we did it like this, and we did up to the top, then this one's going to come over on that side and go that way. So again, we have those perfect alignments, and when you set the top in place, the foot is going to anchor right there. So this line will be lined up right on my center position right there. All right, so again, I want to use the reference lines that are there. There's a line right down here as well that will go right down the center. And then I can see the lines right down here are right in that 1-inch, right on that 2-inch spaced line. So right at the bottom here, this is a little bit tricky. There is a little hump that you kind of have to go over. So just go a little slower when you get down to that bottom hump, and then come right up until the foot anchor right there stops you. The back of this foot is right on the little anchor behind there. Okay, and then you're just going to scoot over, get everybody in place. Now, I want to show you the alignment real quick as we go. I'm flipping it around. Yes, I am, because I want you to be able to see everything. The hook is going to line up right there. There is a reference line right there. So this was that center line, and then all of my other lines can line right up, right along here on the seam line and right here on the seam line. And that's how you're going to know that you're in the right position. So as you sew, you should go right back down the line you just made, again, a little slowly around that little hook right there, and right up to the top, until you're in the seam right there. Your needle should be lined up right with that reference line right there, and then you just scoot over. Again, line up this line right along that seam allowance and check both sides because we want both of them. And the other thing is, this now, it should line up right at the peak of the existing line that we sewed. This line right there, this line should align right at the tip, and that's the other piece that we're looking at. So this is aligned on the needle, and that's lined up right there on the center line, and then we'll be ready to sew. The reason that it's important with this particular design to check all of those spaces pretty well is it's making a little gap right there in the middle for us to stitch. And if we don't line everything up, we could end up overlapping right there when we sew the next one. So right there, we don't want to overlap that. As we sew down, we kind of want to end right there, and then we would sew right back up to the top. Okay, so again, this line right here is aligned right on the center point of that little cathedral right there. Okay, so let's check our positioning and off we go. And back to the top, and we should be lined right up in the center line right there, and then we'll just scoot over. And again, check all of those alignments, this line right in the center, and this line right on the seam allowance. And then let's see if I can see the back. I can usually stand up and check in the back, or if you have the rear view mirror, you can use that also, right up to the hook, and then just scoot over. So there's a lot of reference lines for this particular one, and I think after you've sewn it a few times, it actually gets faster, but I think when you sew it for the first time, kind of just take a little time, go ahead and check all those alignment positions. Don't be in a big rush, because it'll definitely help you have a better look for the design if you're just patient, and don't try to be in too big of a hurry. Okay. Always wait for your needle to stop when you're done. Then you can make that reposition. So checking right on this line, and this line's right on the center position there. And then, you know, I can kind of look back there. I can see my line should be right at the bottom of the design right there. And there, right there, that's the 1/4 inch that it's touching. Okay, and then we'll just keep scooting over. So pretty easy to go ahead and check those alignments each time. I do feel like there's more things to check on this than there are on a lot of the other templates. But if I do it, I'm going to get these absolutely amazing design right there. So it's totally worth doing. So let me show you something. It never shows up. Never can find the link. Hi, Donna. Should just be right on the Sew Steady page. I want to show you guys something right here for you perfection peoples. Let me see if I can make it bigger and come down a little bit. Can you guys see right there on the bottom that there's a little overlap right there, right here? If this bothered you, then you could go ahead and take this whole loop out. What I think is more practical would be just to come in right here and stitch a little stay stitching right here and just rip out these couple of stitches and let this be the line for both sides. If this bothered you, if it doesn't bother you, who cares? But like if you see this and that bothered you, then I would just take out a few stitches there so that there's only one line, and then nobody would ever know. But the thing that we need to realize now is, since we have that, we need to be more careful as we're going on to the next ones to make sure that we're not repeating that. And the way that you're checking that is whenever you're coming back down to the bottom, you need to make sure that you have the correct amount of room. So let's get my foot right in position. I'm right here, aligned right on the center position right there. I think we need to come up just a little bit. There we go. Actually, I'll turn it so you guys can see a little better. You can see the top alignment, but you can't really see the bottom. All right, so right here, there is a reference line. I'll tip this just a little bit. there's a line right here, and that line is right here on this 2-inch line when I line it up. So as I tip it, and there's a little cross right there, and that should line up right with the edge of the design. Right here, the stitching should cross right at that little line right there. If it does, what that's telling me is that I have enough room for the loop that goes in between. So right here, a little slower, right up into the hook, okay, and then scoot it over. Now, this is where I can look and make sure, do I have that 1/4 inch right there? Right in that spot, that's what you're looking for. So, if you are concerned that it doesn't look right, we have a tool where you can really precisely check that that is the right amount of space that you have. So right there. So if I need a little smushing right there to make that fit just perfect, then I can definitely do that. Okay, and then scoot over and off we go. Again, checking the position right there. Okay, and then we'll just keep scooting. Right there, I want to make sure my foot is right in the hook. And I'm lined up at the top as well, so those are both the areas that I'm checking. Okay. Right there, he's crossing right at the perfect spot where he's supposed to be. So we're just going to do a few more because I want to go ahead and get us to the end so that we can show ideas for how you could line up things at the end if you want to. Oh, don't go too far. At the very tip, when you line things up, I think sometimes it's easy possibly to maybe go an extra stitch because it's not a very deep hook at the top. So try not to push past when the foot hits the bump stop. Just let it sit on that position and try not to force it to go further. All right, so we're getting close down to the bottom here. I think I can fit maybe one more. So let's go ahead and we'll set that up and let's talk about the last bit. So right in here, this is going to be inside the seam allowance, at least 1/4 inch. So as we do the last one, let's plan ahead. Let's go ahead and intentionally get ready to close this design. So we'll come up right to there, right to the hook. And as we do the last one, let's think about the best position for you to see. I'm going to turn this around. Okay, really cute design, super elegant. As we come back up, rather than just come out over here, we're just going to stop right at this position. All right, checking my alignments right there. I'm right here on the center, and I can see that I do pretty much have that 1/4 inch down at the bottom. So off I go. Right there, right up, and right here, when I touch the line, going ahead and stopping right there and just tying off at that point. Oh, so cute, you guys. I love it. I'm just going to cut a few of these threads, get them out of the way, and then we'll turn it over so you can see. Isn't that so cute? Love that. Such a pretty design. So the 2 inches that we measured right there, and this was a little bit wider because I was worried that if I did the 2.5, which I did on this other side, that it might be a little bit too tight. And my plan was to go ahead and cut this down so that I did have an adequate 1/4 inch. So I actually made this border just a little bit bigger because I felt like this one might be a stretch, it might be a little too tight. But what I'll do over here is I'll still sew it, and then I'll just cut the 1/4 inch even if the fabric doesn't go all the way to the edge, because it might be just a few threads shy because it's narrower. Okay, so that's some ways that you can make some adjustments to your designs or to space them or center them. The other thing that is very cute about that heart, let me just show you one more thing, is you can go ahead and you can echo with this down here. Like you can always just bring this down here and put another line and then scoot over and another line. It's a little bit more work with this one because the other one is quite a bit bigger and it's got some more lines here on the bottom, makes it easier for you to adjust, but still very, very, very cute. Okay, so we have used pretty much all of the tools in this arsenal. We went ahead and we showed another way to use that 6-point crosshair to get the center of this triangle very easily. So definitely you would want that 6-point crosshair in order to do this design. And I want to reinforce that I use the 4 1/8. So let me just show you something. There is no 4 1/8, right? So what I did, you can just stick a ruler back behind here and you can just measure that 1/8 and line it up and then bump this up to it like that. So that would be the way to get that 1/8, which has no actual measure right on there. Okay, so that way, just make sure that your line is kind of straight across. I think mine's wonky. That's a little too far down, but that's the concept. Would be use a ruler that has that existing 1/8. I think it's probably right there, the yellow line, and that way you could get that perfect spacing. How large is the quilt with this set? What a good question. Let's find out. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to bump you. This size quilt, according to the measure right here, is going to measure 43.5 by 39. So more of a wall hanging, certainly could be a baby quilt, and you could easily add an extra border or so. Can you use the mini 6-point crosshair? So Sharon, I'm going to answer your question. Yes, you can, except why do you need to? Because this one comes with it. I mean, this is part of this kit. So you certainly could use the mini, but if this works, then this is also what you're getting in that set. So you don't have to worry about buying something else. This is a piece that would be coming with that set already. Okay? So we just wanted to expose you to that, and I'm going to grab just a couple of trunk show items real quick to advance the cause here. Just give me a sec. So I have been working on my Continuum quilt for quite a while, mostly because I just got distracted and I stopped working on it. So I'm going to just show you a couple of the different pieces that are in this set that are full size. So like this block, let me see if we can come out just a little bit so we can get a much bigger view here. So this is a piece of my block from my Continuum quilt, and this is 1-inch diamonds using the LSLQ. So very, very easy. You can see that we did that, and here the way that this is, all of this will be trimmed off or in the sashing, right? So that's why it looks so messy on the edges. But what we did today is we showed you how to travel right in the existing stitch allowance anytime that you need to. So that's something you always have the availability to do. So let's get us a little bit more light on there. And then this is a very large piece of it. This is the block. The Continuum quilt, the Spinifex number 11, is a 9.5-inch size. And so you can see this block is pretty big. It's like 20 something. Well, the little tiny one that we have today is going to be available and make a much smaller block, but basically can make this same awesome design, right? But just smaller. Let's see. And then this is an example of the heart. So it's quite a bit bigger. I'm in scale. Let's put the two of them right next to each other. I'll put this one next to it so we can just do a little visual scaling. Okay, I'll fold that up. So here's the two different sizes, right? This is the one that we just did, and then this is how much bigger that it can be if you're using the regular Continuum. So the Mini is scaled down quite a bit, and it's just a different option. It's not that these tools are better, that the Mini is better or the Major is bigger. You know, it's just, what do you want? To be honest, one of the things that I like about having both sets is now I have two different sizes. So I can take the little arc and I could actually make mini arcs in here with the little smaller heart. So it's just some flexibility for you. I think it would go faster. That is one positive feature of the Mini. It would go a lot faster. So anyway, that's what we're sharing today. And then I just want to reiterate one last piece. So when you get your Equilateral Triangle, that's the name of this product, the Equilateral Triangle. This is 2 to 6. You can see right there. And I also have a bigger one that goes up to 12, right? I use them to make Christmas trees and different things like that. This one is going to cut the exact size. So for example, if I line this up at 4, that is going to mean that the finished sewn in sides of the triangle is going to be 4 inches, right? So that is what you need to know. Don't try and do any complicated math like I did. Just know that if it says we're on the 3.5 inch line, it's already giving you the seam allowance so that when it sews in, each leg of the triangle will be at that 3.5 or that 4 or whatever. So don't worry about doing complicated math. Just follow the numbers that are already on there. So anyway, awesome tool. Really love it. And if you like hexagons, this would be an amazing tool to have. So they have them in the 2 different sizes. Okay, you guys, well, it's a little bit early. It's 4:20, but Gail, did you not see it? This is the Mini Continuum, the Mini Quilt in a bag, right? So you're going to look for Quilt Class in a bag or Continuum, and this is the Mini, right? And then the bigger one is the other pieces that I showed you. Okay, so anyway, lots of great ideas for you. Hopefully we'll have lots of fun things coming. I'll try to finish this out a little bit later and post it. And it's not complicated. Again, like I said, all of these are just the triangles that are cut with that. And then I just put a 1.5 inch border here. So this is cut at a 2 inch width to finish at 1.5. And then this was 2.5 and should have been 3, I think, to make it a little bit more generous. And then I can cut my seam allowance in. But I've marked the 2 inches so I could fit my little heart boundary in there. All right, you guys, have an awesome week. Looking forward to being back in action and hopefully traveling a little bit and seeing you. I'm going to Kennewick, Washington, and I will be actually helping another instructor during that time, but I will be going to Sandy's anniversary event in Kennewick, Washington. So if you're in that area, hopefully we can see you soon. Have a great week, you guys. Bye-bye.